This is the fifth and final part of my interview with Doc, a Navy Corpsman, which is basically a medic in the US Navy that is attached to US Marine units. And in this one, we cover quite a lot of ground. A lot of popular culture questions like which video games are most realistic. We talk a little bit about Red Orchestra, which movies were most realistic for Doc. This includes a bit of Saving Private Ryan and Black Hawk Down and Hurt Locker, and also American Sniper, and also how it is relating to being home. And also as a final question, we talk about what Doc thinks about the comic Terminal Lands. So now this is the final section. This is curious questions and popular culture. One question which is quite interesting, but it's probably an internal joke. What's more important, changing socks or drinking water before PFT at 07:30 in the
Yeah,
morning?
that would be water and not too much of it because you'll throw it up.
Okay.
Socks are very important, not necessarily for the PFT, but depending on your work environment, having multiple changes of socks in the desert is a lot less important than having multiple changes of socks when in the Philippines or Thailand or even to some extent Korea because of trench foot, which I would call jungle rot. It's where the skin on your feet literally rots away because they're always wet. I think they used to call it immersion foot or whatever, but in the desert, that hardly ever happens. Drinking water, however, is important across all of those madrids. I think it was Israeli docs that came up with a study showing that troops deployed into the desert performed a lot better if they started drinking water 2 days before their deployment. And they were getting together, I think, on an hourly basis and drinking like a half a liter of water every hour. So that then when they were in that hot environment, their body tended to react the same as when they were in garrison as far as the work they had to do versus becoming dehydrated and tired and slow and things like that.
About popular culture, in your opinion, which video games represent real life combat the best and why, if at all?
Yeah, none of them. None of them. In Battlefield, the medic, who I still like to play, runs up and hits a button and holds the button down while you're in the field of fire. Often that ends up causing your life to be taken in the video game as well because a sniper got the first guy and he's just waiting for someone to come by and help him so he can take him out too.
Do you also play games like Arma and Red Orchestra?
Yes, I was a big fan of Red Orchestra back when it came out. I thought it was a beautiful game. Again, I didn't think the Corpsman, the combat medic, was rendered effectively, but a lot of times these games are built around people who have very short attention span. They don't want to be out of the game, so if they are killed, they pop right back in, or within 5 seconds, they have a spawn point or something like that. And that's not very realistic either because that would be like going into combat with a line of people just over the hill, and every 10 seconds, one person was sent to reinforce you. Yeah, it's it's just very unrealistic, but that's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, it's a game. It's not for the realism. It's to give people who haven't had the realism something they can have fun at. For military members, I think it always comes down to their marksmanship. The better marksman they are with a mouse and keyboard doesn't translate to how good they are with an M4 or an M2 50 caliber or anything like that. It's just for fun.
Now moving on to movies. I think you mentioned earlier that you know one movie that did some realistic portrayal of combat or at least military life. Which one would that be?
Yes, there's one movie, and that's Saving Private Ryan. I think it was a fantastic movie. I could not say enough good things about the production of the movie, but I only watched it once. I can't bring myself to watch it again. And the reason I think I give it some importance is of all the movies I've seen, to include Black Hawk Down, which was good, but it didn't give me an emotional response. But with Saving Private Ryan, I noticed my heartbeat was elevated. I almost got that adrenaline boost. Things were brighter. People around me were moving in slow motion. I was like, what is this? I mean, and it was because I think they came as close as they could without having you in it. I cannot say enough how impressed I am. However, I only saw it once, and I won't watch it again.
Okay, understandable. So basically, it triggered the right emotions, that it was as close as possible to combat.
Yes, extremely powerful emotions, extremely powerful. And when the medic was shot, oh, I had to leave the room. I thought I was going to lose it in front of a whole theater full of people.
Okay.
Black Hawk Down, I think they did a good job. I think they stuck to the story probably much better than any other movie that I've seen, except for maybe the J.R. Tolkien series. He seemed to stick very close to the book as well. But Black Hawk Down was very close to what I had heard happened without having read the book as well. But there's just certain things that people don't want to see. In other words, as much as I say Saving Private Ryan was a great movie, I only saw it once. They only made money off of me once because it was so emotional. I didn't want to see it again. So if you made all your military movies like that, the cap of how much money you can make is there's a definite line because it's so good people don't want to see it again. That's probably a bad thing.
Do you know the movie Hurt Locker?
Yes, I became a fan of that actor because of the movie Hurt Locker. And some things I think were portrayed exceptionally well in both Hurt Locker and American Sniper, and that was being home from it. The guy standing in the grocery store looking at the long line of cereals, where for the past, I think he was in the Army, so for the past year, because they deploy for 12 to 18 months at a time, which I think is insane compared to the Marines 6 to 9. I think that idea, for the past 18 months, he's had maybe a choice of 5 different cereals when he got to have cereal. And now he's standing on an aisle with people oblivious to what's going in the world around you. And there's 700 cereals to choose from. It's like, what exactly is the point of me being here? Over there I made a difference. Over here I'm just another American supporting a company that I probably don't want to know what they do with their money. So I think some things were very well depicted in some of those movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've watched the scene with the cereal, I think 2 or 3 times on YouTube, and it was like, yeah, back over there he has decisions to save lives or to take lives, and here it's like, yeah, taking another cereal with another flavor. It's like the contrast is probably mind-boggling.
Right, exactly. And at some point, you kind of get that between Europe and America. When I was in Spain, if I wanted ketchup and I went to the local store, I had maybe 1 or 2 choices. If I go to a grocery store in America, there's like 70 or 80 choices of just ketchup. So, I mean, I wouldn't say overwhelming, but its perspective is, really? Do I need 70 choices of ketchup?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference in Europe as well. I mean, I went to South America and I realized it was quite there was a lot of different stuff, but some in the new supermarkets in South America, for instance, the cosmetic aisle almost looked the same as like in Austria or I think United States. Everything is a little bit bigger. I was there when I was 19, so Walmart was something
there are very few that come close in Europe, but so that the differences sometimes in the range is bigger, but to a certain degree it was like shocking to see exactly the same in South America, because you go out in the streets and then you look at houses and they are not correctly aligned, like not in the right angle. But if you look at the aisle, it's exactly the same stuff. Or if you look at for the medicine stuff, for instance, they have the same aspirin and everything. But for instance, in Ecuador, they don't sell you a package; they give you an individual one, tablet or 2 or 3. So it was like they have a scissors and they cut it out, and it's like it's sometimes a little bit surreal in many ways, because you have this, we have a special term for this in history. You have the I really can't translate. You have basically something that's happening everywhere in the world, but some other stuff there, like a few hundred years between development areas, like people running around with cell phones in areas where they don't have public sanitation. So it's like you are like, in what movie am I now?
Yes, exactly. What reality have I changed from?
Yeah. So, and as a final question, do you know the webcomic Terminal Lands?
No, I did see this question and I looked it up because I had heard of the White Donkey, and I had heard this guy's name mentioned before, that he was a satirist. So I at least knew what it was, but I hadn't looked into it. I looked it up on the internet, and it seems like he can draw pretty well, but I don't get his satire. At least it's not funny to me. That's nothing against him. Maybe it's just, a mindset. I don't know.
Thanks very much, Doc, for having this great conversation and answering all those questions. And I should also thank you on behalf of many others to thank you for your service. And we appreciate what you did.
You're quite welcome. As far as my service, I considered it an honor. That's what I tell people when they thank me for my service in America. It was an honor. It was an honor to provide that service.